Welcome back, everybody, to the finale of Silent Hill 2 Original. We've got a lot to cover over in this video. We will be wrapping things up as we go along. Didn't want to forget this right here before I go inside of Lakeview Hotel. We finally made it, you guys. It's been a long time coming, but we got here. So much to talk about in this video. Right away, we've got our map. Waiting for you, room 312. Say, that looks suspiciously. Yep, that's the room Mary and I stayed in. So is it giving us an option of which thing to believe? Right there. Mary, are you there? Or maybe? Or maybe what exactly, James? I got a hotel map for guests. So that or maybe is basically what this video is going to consist of. That's probably the simplest way to sum it all up, I guess. So, as we make our way through the overlook, the Lakeview Hotel, we found our first key, fish key. Let's check this thing out. Key with fish-shaped key holder. It was on top of the restaurant table.
Did I scare you?
Yeah, you did.
You're here to find Mary, aren't you, James? Well, have you?
No. Is that why you're here too?
She's here, isn't she? If you know where she is, tell me. I'm tired of walking.
I wish I knew.
But she said it in her letter.
What letter?
Wanna read it? But don't tell Rachel, okay?
Who's Rachel?
She was our nurse. I took it from her locker.
My dearest Laura, I'm leaving this letter with Rachel to give to you after I'm gone. I'm far away now in a quiet, beautiful place. Please forgive me for not saying goodbye before I left. Be well, Laura. Don't be too hard on the sisters. And Laura, about James. I know you hate him because you think he isn't nice to me, but please give him a chance. It's true, he may be a little surly sometimes, and he doesn't laugh much, but underneath, he's really a sweet person. Laura, I love you like my very own daughter. If things had worked out differently, I was hoping to adopt you. Happy 8th birthday, Laura. Your friend forever, Mary.
Laura, how old are you?
I turned 8 last week.
So, Mary couldn't have died 3 years ago. Could she really be here? Is this the quiet, beautiful place she was talking about?
Me and Mary talked a lot about Silent Hill. She even showed me all her pictures. She really wanted to come back. That's why I'm here. Maybe you'll get it if you see the other letter. The one Mary... Huh? I must have dropped it.
Laura!
I gotta find it.
Laura!
Okay, guys, well, there you have it. Now we know why the hell Laura is in Silent Hill. I guess she just literally came here specifically and solely for the reason of running into Mary. And we'll talk more about this in a little while, but think about it from Laura's perspective, right? So her best friend, Mary, that she is in the hospital with, which, by the way, I don't know what kind of ailment Laura had to be in a hospital with other patients with terminal illnesses like Mary's. Like, what's up with Laura? Like, what's her diagnosis? What's going on with her? Why was she in the hospital? We don't ever really get to know. But this one cutscene, it kind of answers a lot of our questions. It tells us why Laura's here in Silent Hill. She's here to find Mary, just like James, okay? For very different reasons, obviously. But we also know that apparently they were together, Laura and Mary, in the hospital. Maybe it was some kind of Catholic hospital, because it says, you know, Mary telling Laura, it mentions her being nice to the sisters. It also mentions James here, and this is really important, okay? Because this is going to bring back some of the stuff that we've pondered on in previous installments, okay? So basically, Mary telling Laura to be nice to James. Yeah, he seems a little bit surly and he doesn't laugh much, but he's really a sweet person. That's what she says about her husband. And so now we know why Laura doesn't like James, or why she would be so apt to run away from him so many times over and over. But for the sake of her friendship with Mary, she's actually willing to have a conversation with him here. Okay? Also, it's kind of strange, again, that in the cutscene at the hospital just before we enter the nightmare, the cutscene with Laura before she locks us in the room with the flesh lips monster, she's like, "How do you know my name?" And he's like, "Eddie told me." And she says, "That big fat blabbermouth." Well, she was actually surprised whenever James called her by her name after we chased after her for hours on end. He finally said, "Laura, wait," when he walks in on her in that room. And it kind of took her by surprise, really. If you look at her reaction, I know that the quality and the 3D graphics and all that and this and that 23 years ago wasn't great at portraying this, but it doesn't matter, because you can kind of connect the dots in your head, right? So when she looks at him, she's surprised that he knows her name, because he obviously doesn't know who she is, but he should know who she is. Okay? If Mary can write a letter to Laura mentioning James, obviously Laura knows who he is. So why the hell doesn't he know who she is? Well, maybe that gives you some insight on the status of James, like what kind of person he is. Like I mean, this shines light on so many things that I'll try not to spend too much time talking about here. But obviously he's seen her before. She has seen him, so she knows who he is. Now, perspectives come into play here. Remember how important I told you perspectives are when it comes to this game. Now, from her perspective as a patient, especially a little girl in the hospital, if somebody comes in to visit one of the other patients, she's going to take note of that. She's in the hospital, right? So it would be a lot easier for her to notice him and recognize him and ask questions, probably to Mary, about who it is. Mary has to introduce James to Laura. James doesn't do it on his own. So they've never properly been introduced to each other, right? But she knows who he is. And he should know who she is, but this kind of reinforces some of that theory that I was talking about earlier, where he's got a lot of repressed memories. So in reality, has he seen Laura before? Yeah, he has. Maybe he stopped coming to pay visits at the hospital with Mary. You know, maybe his visiting time with her kind of grew far apart toward the end there. But, you know, he came enough to know who she was. Now, the last thing I want to mention, obviously, is the obvious thing that we just got another kind of plot twist thing. If it's your first time seeing the game, then yeah, that's a big plot twist, because he says to Laura, "When did you turn 8 years old? When did that happen?" She said, "A week ago." So if this is a real letter, unlike the fake one, I'm not going to look at it again, but this, and I'm not going to look at this again. This is actually a real letter, even though the game says letter supposedly given to Laura by Mary. Yeah, just like this one was supposedly given to you by Mary, James. This is a real letter, okay? So we're going to have this. You know what this is? This is hard evidence. This is like a slap in the face to James from reality. Because if she's telling Laura happy 8th birthday in the letter, and he asked Laura when did she turn 8, and Laura says a week ago, guess what? Just like James says in the cutscene, Mary couldn't have died 3 years ago. And we'll leave it at that, and we'll continue on. Before we leave this room, though, there is kind of something to point out about the piano here. There's a piano here. I remember, James. I remember how much Mary liked to play the piano. She wasn't very good, but I still love to hear her play. That was so long ago, before we were even married. Why am I thinking of that now? Well, you're going to be thinking of a lot of stuff. It's just going to come flooding in on you, James. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you're about to have a lot of repression come back on you. It's going to be like a floodgate. Oh, God. Oh, these are... Okay, well, this is new, sort of. Now, it looks familiar, right? It looks like the Abstract Daddy, right? Well, there's another name for these monsters. They're also called doormen. It's another name for that monster there. And if this is Angela's monster, then why the hell is James seeing it in the hotel? Well, we already know that the manifestations from James, Angela, Eddie, they can kind of overlap sometimes. We talked a lot about that in the previous episode. So does that mean that the hotel is connected to Angela in some way? Well, it's too soon to know for sure at the moment, but we'll, I guess we'll see what happens. I'm not ready to go in there yet. Sorry, guys. It's been a long time. Ooh, I'll take those. Toilet paper. I don't need that right now. Well, you're not somebody from like 4 years ago during the pandemic, are you? We gotta try those other doors before I leave that area. Let's just be sure, man. Check everything. Oh, you can't actually see it on the map. Alright. Well, that was just some ammunition to stock up on real quick. Alright. Alright. So that's everything right here. And we do have some stairs here. Say, I wonder, I mean, we do have that note on the map. It says waiting for you in room 312. So, Mary, are you up here? Guess not. Got a locked briefcase. Okay, so we'll be going back to that room for sure. There's a book open on top of the desk. It looks like a medical book. I've already read enough medical books. None of them did any good. So, what do you think he means by that? You know what I think he means? I think it means that whenever his wife got sick, he did as much research on it as he possibly could. He poured himself into it and he obsessed over it. He went to every length and measure to do everything that he could for his wife. And he's saying right here, all of that did no good. None of it did any good. And we'll be coming back to this room. Okay, that's pointless. All right, moving on. Alrighty then. Well, a lot of ammo around here. Did I overlook something on the first floor? I did, didn't I, guys? Yes. Mr. James Sunderland, the videotape you forgot here is being kept in the office on the first floor. All right. Well, we've heard about that videotape. And room 312 key. Key to the room where Mary and I stayed. Well, that was convenient. But that's not going to unlock the grate door, you know, the metal grating door that goes to the third floor hallway. Now, is it? So if you guys notice, there's like these gray areas. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. There's these grayed out areas on the map. And what that is there are things there. Those are actual rooms in different places, but they're not on the guest hotel map. So there's actually another map that we have to get, and it's a lot more detailed. And it's like the employee map. And it shows you what all that stuff is. But if you're a guest, you don't need to know what that stuff is. Okay, guys, so I forgot something, a key item. You need to keep going down. Don't go up to the second floor before you come down here. Because there's something we need down here. This is the basement. Thinner. I just heard something weird. Okay, we can't interact with the elevator. Bar is locked. So yeah, we just needed to come down here to get that. Thinner. Isn't that a Stephen King book? Let's check out that bottle of thinner. That's hyper spray. Small can filled with thinner. It was lying inside the elevator. Really, that's all it says about it. It's not going to give you any other clue or hint toward what that is or what it's for. Fair enough. Okay, there's more of Angela's monster that we don't actually know for a fact that she even sees like that anyway. Maybe she just, like I said in the previous video, maybe she's seeing her father, but we don't really know what she sees. Got a locked room there. Oh wow. Okay. So apparently we need something else that I forgot. So we do have this fish key, right? And there was that briefcase that I totally just overlooked. And that's up here. Sorry guys, it's been a long time since I played this game. I figured that he would have automatically used the fish key on the briefcase, but maybe you have to do it manually. I don't know. Yeah, it's locked, but you do have a key, James. It's right here. Key to hotel room 204. Key for a key. Okay. Trade ya. And 204 is... this one. Another key. Employee elevator key. Does that mean we're going to get access to parts of the building that guests don't normally get access to? And guys, check this out. There's a hole in the wall. This might be the second one in the game. The only other hole in the wall that I recall of, except for the one that we actually make ourselves when we get like trapped in that well, is in the apartment building when James moves the clock. Remember, there's a hole in the wall that you crawl through. This is this, I guess technically the third one if you count the one that you make yourself. So at this point, we're we're 3 holes deep into going through holes in walls. But how many, like at this point in the remake, how many holes have we put in walls and how many walls have we gone through? Think about it. What's my point? Well, I have a point, but I'm not even going to go there, okay? Yeah, I think you guys can figure it out. Photos are scattered all over the bed. Guys, I see what looks like Eddie. I see a lying figure. I see Laura, like 2 pictures of Laura. I see a picture of Mary. And that's all I can make out. But here's this one picture right here. Part of the photo has been colored over with marker. Oh, okay, I get it. So when you say thinner, you mean like paint thinner? Is that kind of what that is? Like ink thinner, paint thinner? Some kind of chemical solution, right? That's probably highly flammable. And I found a bottle of it on the employee elevator. Lose. Oh. Is that the game's way of telling me I'm a loser? Well, here's another briefcase right here. And oh, what do you know? We just saw a picture of this. So that means that we figured it out. Second music box. I have a lot to say about the music boxes, but I'm gonna wait to do that. But there are some interesting things about these 2 particular rooms, I'd say. Things that stand out, right? I mean, if you were just checking everything out and not trying to rush through everything. What could you come up with or interpret about this room? This is room 204. Well, the curtains are all messed up. It looks like they're burned, maybe? Like maybe they caught on fire or something? Possibly. That's interesting, but why is there a hole in the wall? I'm not trying to suggest anything. I'm just pointing out details that, like, what's the why did the designer of this room do that? Did they do it for a reason? Why is there a hole in the wall? Why are these two rooms connected? 202 and 204. Something to think about for sure. But now that we have the employee elevator key, we can actually go over there, which is where I tried to go earlier. I realized I wasn't ready. So that's going to be over here. East wing. Employee elevator key. Okay. Well, that's the deciding factor. Does this elevator actually work? Scared me. Weight allowance, 1 person. Something's written over the button. What's this? Weight allowance, 1 person. I am 1 person. The hell do you mean 1 person? I am 1 person. What does that even mean? Trying to tell me that I'm fat or something? There are memos hanging here, but nothing interesting is written. So seriously, like, what the heck? I'm 1 person. Is like the spirit of Mary, or maybe the spirit of Eddie, is with me. I'm just kidding, guys. The shelves are empty. It looks like I could store my stuff here. Yeah, so apparently when they say 1 person, they really mean 1 person. They don't mean 1 person with a whole bunch of crap on them. And speaking of carrying a whole bunch of crap, there's something that I want to make light of here. And I think maybe for those that have been following along that kind of understand it, or maybe it seems vague when I keep saying that the town is manifesting things from the psyche of James, Eddie, Angela. Silent Hill 4 actually has a note that explains it perfectly, unlike I'm not able to explain much of anything very well without using too many words and taking too much of your time to do it. But I did find this note from Silent Hill 4, so listen to this, guys. So this game, it's not really relatable to Silent Hill 4. It is there's a reference about Walter Sullivan and some of his murder victims, which is what Silent Hill 4 is about. But there's a note in Silent Hill 4 that really explains what's going on, and it does it well. It's actually part of a big note. And the note that you find, it's in Henry's apartment, in his room, and it's a note on the ritual of the Holy Assumption. And it says something about that game, but it also says something that can be used to explain things in this game. The last part of this note, it says, "It is important to travel lightly in that world. He who carries too heavy of a burden will regret it." That's what it says. So what am I saying? And I'll try to explain this as I put all of my stuff, all of it, even the picture of Mary, even the note, the radio, the flashlight, the chainsaw. I mean, that's probably where most of the weight's coming from, honestly, right there. But yes. So what do I mean by that? How does that relate to the story of Silent Hill 2? Well, if you think about it, there's one thing that James, Angela, Eddie, all three of them have in common. They have baggage. They're all carrying a heavy burden. They all have secrets, and they're all dealing with grief. And a big part of that grief is denial. And denial can create some huge baggage in anyone's life. So this is a real concept. This kind of stuff, it happens in real life. But what I'm suggesting from the note that I just read is that he who carries too heavy of a burden should tread lightly when they come to Silent Hill, because the town can manifest things from your psyche. So if there's anything, like if you're a troubled person, if you're dealing with baggage, if you're carrying too heavy of a weight, then the town will manifest that, and you will encounter things similar to what James, Eddie, Angela are experiencing in the town. It makes sense, right? That's actually what's been happening this whole time. And so somebody like Laura, a child, I think I maybe said it wrong before. Okay, whenever I said, well, she's a child, she's innocent, and that's why she's not experiencing any delusions in Silent Hill, because she's a child, she hasn't really been through anything. But that's not actually true, because the fact is, if she was like a patient in the hospital, and I'm assuming some kind of oncology clinic or something like that, because if Mary had cancer, maybe Laura had cancer too. Maybe Laura's better, I don't know. We don't get the backstory about Laura, but I said that she's not been through anything heavy yet, but apparently she has. I mean, if she had cancer or some other kind of serious illness enough to be put up in the hospital for an extended period of time, she has gone through things. I'm going to talk more about Laura in a little bit, but yeah, I mean, why she's not experiencing anything like what James has experienced. You know, she doesn't have that baggage like James. Okay? But I just wanted to repeat that and kind of refreshen those thoughts in your head so we can continue onward. Okay, what the hell's going on with this? Okay, you're only going to the first floor. This is actually that one east wing that I showed you on the map previously that's dedicated to an employee area, so we don't have information on the rooms just yet, but we do now. So now we'll be able to see what's in this other part of the hotel that we couldn't see before. This whole eastern side of the wings, everything right of the lobby, Now we can see what all this stuff is. And I don't have a flashlight, I don't have a gun, I don't have anything. So let's hope I don't get myself killed. Oh, there's a safe here. VHS tape. There's a can opener. Two very random objects, right? Silent Hill is written on the label in my handwriting. Oh, this must be that videotape. This is definitely the videotape I recorded back then. And can opener. No explanation necessary there. Except what the hell are we going to use a can opener on? Okay, nothing else useful. In the room, so. I'm sorry guys, if I freak out a little bit, it's because I have no way to defend myself and I have no health items. And I haven't saved my game, so, you know, I might scream if something scares me. I feel very, very vulnerable right at the moment. There's a schedule book here. The date is from 1 year ago. Okay, kind of important, right? So I guess that gives you an idea about time frames. If that's a dry erase board right there and it's got a schedule from a year ago, well, maybe that shone some light on the last time anybody has really been here to operate the hotel. Which it still seems very clean. It seems like it's in good condition for it to even been that long since anybody's really been here. But that's a nice clue. I like how they put that in there. I'm trying to see what that is on the couch there, but I don't think he can get over there to check it out. So, yeah, he's not gonna say anything about that. This is actually a... Oh, he won't even read the map when it's dark. There we go. This is actually kind of a big area here. Quite a bit of stuff to check out. Apparently... okay, those are shutters. And, okay... Here's something kind of interesting to point out. I just thought about this off the top of my head, but if you look at the map, okay, let me go back to the light, James. If you look at the map, there's a hallway up there. You see it? With the little red squigglies going to this other area where there's a bunch of rooms that we could check out, only when you try to go check it out, it says the shutters are closed. Shutters? Aren't shutters things that go on like over windows? That's not a window, it's a hallway. Unless they're like fire shutters, you know, something to create a firewall to kind of isolate a certain part of the building in case it catches on fire. Maybe a shutter to put over the hallway can prevent the fire from spreading. Maybe, because check this out. There's a freaking fire alarm right there on the freaking wall. You see that? That's got to be what that is. I mean, we don't have a flashlight to check it out. He won't say anything about it, but that clearly, to me, that looks like one of those fire alarms that you like pull down on, right? I mean, you guys see that, right? And the shutters are closed. Does that mean that, you know, perhaps there was some kind of fire, or maybe, I don't know. It doesn't look like anything is damaged except for those curtains that we saw earlier. So what's up with that? Don't you love how subtle the game is about this kind of stuff? But nonetheless, it's in the game, and the people that designed the game put it there for some reason. Even if it's not screaming at you and being obvious, they put it there for somebody to think about. I'm sure they thought somebody will find this and contemplate on it, because, you know, people that typically enjoy games like this, they're thinkers, you know, they like to analyze things. They're captivated by mystery. Found a closet and Snow White music box. Okay. So, well, can't show you now, but we actually have all three. I shouldn't have said that, but we do have 3 music boxes. Those are puzzle items. If you've been keeping up, then you know that every puzzle item that we get, they usually come in 3s, right? We've got 3 of them, so there's a sign that, you know, we've got everything we need to move on. There are tea bags and cookies here. They are all past their expiration dates. Yeah, I'd imagine. Cans of fruit are lined up. The expiration dates are probably long gone. Apples and pumpkins. Potatoes and onions, they smell slightly rotten. Soup cans. I guess they're okay, but I'm not hungry. You notice how he says everything. He has something to say about all the shelves, right? Very descriptive. I really appreciate that about these old Silent Hill games, is that like he'll have something to say about a lot of stuff, you know, and it's fun to click on it and see what he has to, like, his comments and stuff. The remake doesn't really have anything like that in it. All you get is every now and then you'll get some commentary from James, and that's why this game differs. I really like that about this game. But if you can't tell, that's kind of like giving you a focal point. He's got something to say about all of the surrounding shelves, but then the item that we actually needed was on this shelf. It was the last music box, right? So it's kind of honing you into a focal point on a specific item that you need, if that makes sense. And that's kind of the way that Silent Hill does things. Wow, I'm surprised he actually opened his map right here. It's kind of dark. Okay, well, the only place to go is up the stairs. And there is another door down here at the end of this hallway, but we already know it's going to be locked, so. And it's the exit. We can go upstairs. Maybe. Yep. Maybe down the stairs, actually. Yeah, we're going down. Yep. What's that sound? Oh shit. I don't like you. I don't have anything to fight you with. Ow. Boiler room. You gotta admit, Silent Hill, it really was big on its boiler rooms, wasn't it? Bar key. Okay, where's the bar. Venus Tears. Alright. Hightail it. Oh shit. Check. Seriously, it's too dark to read the map right here, James. Totally went the wrong freaking way. Need to go this way. Oh shit, there's two of them. Well, at least, gosh, got plenty of health items now. Should use one of those. Refrigerator's broken. I guess I'll just try to skip those other two rooms. I guarantee you they're probably locked. I wouldn't think there'd be anything in there. Hell, I'll try them anyway, just for the sake of completion. Nope, that's locked. Ow. Okay. Yeah, can't go in those. He's looking at something in here. Can with no label on it. Well, we do have a can opener now. Light bulbs in a can? Anyone? Now I'm totally convinced that you're delusional, James. I really am. Like, you can't put light bulbs in a can, they'll all break. So how is that even logical? That makes no sense. I'm getting Heaven's Night vibes in here. Nature Spirit. There's a jukebox here. It doesn't play, so it must be broken. What is this? A lamp on the counter. There's no light bulb, so you can't turn it on. Well, there is now. Well, there actually is a jukebox in the original game, and there you go. Maybe that's where they got the idea to put the one in Neely's bar. I don't think there's one in Neely's bar from the original game. There is one in the hotel. And... oh God. Now we're back out in the main section. Let's just keep going. This still doesn't work. There are stairs, okay. Ow. Okay, so there's really only one thing left to do at this point, and that's go back to that main area. here. All right. So we've got this strange looking thing out here. There's a disc type music box here. It looks like something may be written on it in front, but it's too dark. Well, go get your damn flashlight, James. Get some glasses while you're at it. I forgot we gotta get all our stuff back. Oh, shit. Ow. Wrong choice. There we go. Give me back all my stuff. I don't need your crummy elevator anymore. I unlocked the door. And yeah, I had the thought or the idea of blowing some mannequins away with my shotgun, but now they're gone. How convenient, right? All right. Care to read that now, James? There's a rectangular indentation. There's a plate in front of the indentation. Something is engraved on it. Seat of the princess who awoke from death. Okay, there's 3 indentations. That's the one in the middle, and that's the clue that we have. Seat of the princess who fled at midnight. Oh. Okay. Seat of the princess who spoke no words. Well, I guess solving this puzzle just really depends on how big of a Disney fan you are. I'm just kidding. No, these fairy tales existed long before Disney censored them. And actually, if we were in the hard difficulty puzzle setting of the game, it would actually add a lot more to the clues that we just read, and it would make it even more vague to make it a little bit more challenging to figure out what goes where. But like I said, we have 3 music boxes. Okay. Now here's something that I didn't say whenever I was doing Toluca Prison from the original game. The 3 tablets, we had the tablet of the gluttonous pig, which I said represented Eddie. We had the tablet of the oppressor, which represented James, and the tablet of the seductress, which represents Angela, right? Okay, so not only are those puzzle pieces important to the characters, but in that scenario, the locations where those puzzle pieces are found are important and actually hint and infer toward ideas on the characters. I didn't talk about this before because I kind of wanted to wait. I had a theory built up and I wanted to see if it was the same way with these 3 music boxes. And it might be, but if it is, I'm just not insightful enough to figure it out. But I will quickly explain what I mean, you know. So you find the tablet of the gluttonous pig in the mess hall of the prison, and obviously it's like the cafeteria, you know, it's where people, I guess, could go and be gluttonous, especially, you know, if you were in prison and you were like the guy, you know, from the Eddie Murphy movie that was like, you gonna eat your cornbread? And you're like a big bully, right? Then maybe you could be a gluttonous pig in a prison's cafeteria. Eddie, he wasn't really a bully until he got a gun, you know, but he was bullied. So that's kind of insightful, right? Pertaining to Eddie. And yes, he liked to eat, you know. That's why James would call him out for eating pizza when the town is full of monsters. So that's kind of interesting to point out there. Now, I believe that the Little Mermaid is actually a representation of Eddie, because there's a couple things. There might be more. I'm sorry that this when it comes to me pondering on this, I haven't really figured it all out, but there are details in the story of the Little Mermaid that kind of relate to Eddie and the details of his story. Like, for instance, the Little Mermaid was an outcast and she didn't fit in, right? That's why she wanted to go up to the surface and grow a pair of legs and live on land with the humans, even though she was a mermaid. Well, Eddie didn't really fit in. He was an outcast, and, well, it didn't have anything to do with growing legs, but he did kind of, well, you saw what happened to Eddie. But I guess that's one common thing, or one obvious thing that they would have in common, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, what about Cinderella? Well, if we know the fairy tale of Cinderella, then we know that she fled at midnight, right? Because that was like her curfew before her all her stuff like turned into ordinary things, right? Like her carriage, turned back into a pumpkin. And I don't remember that much about Cinderella, but I do know that she had to leave the prince. She like ran away at midnight so he wouldn't see like who she really was. She was like temporarily transformed into a princess. Well, who else fled at midnight? We already talked about it in the previous episode. Angela fled at midnight after she stabbed her father. So that's kind of interesting. I guess that means that Cinderella represents Angela. There's one other thing. Okay, in the story of Cinderella, the stepmother, the stepsisters, they all hated her. Well, what if Angela's family hated her? Maybe that's what's wrong with Angela. It wasn't just her father. Maybe it was her brother too. Maybe it was her mother. Maybe they all hated her, just like Cinderella. Something to think about, right? Okay, and finally, Snow White. Okay. Well, I don't know a lot about Snow White, but I do know that, she was fed a poisonous apple and she died, but then she came back to life because the prince like kissed her or something. I always get Snow White and Sleeping Beauty mixed up because I don't know that much about either one of them. But yeah, she was the fairest one and the most beautiful girl, and whatever the witch's name was, Maleficent or something like that, fed her a poisonous apple and killed her so that Maleficent would be the most fairest one. Mirror, mirror on the wall, that whole thing. Okay, but what does that have to do with James? I don't know. You do have the whole rebirth ending thing where if you know, you know, if you don't, you don't. But maybe it's something along those lines, or maybe there's something that I'm just overlooking that might be obvious to somebody else. If you guys know what I'm talking about, or you have it figured out, leave a comment and let me know. I will say this. Bloober team, maybe they thought about these things. Maybe they have a slight clue of how James represents Snow White in some way or another. But if you guys recall in this episode, it says right here, we found the Snow White music box in the pantry. And what else did we see in the pantry? Well, we saw everything else that we read about, and I even pointed it out that there is flavor text for each shelf in that pantry, and he has something to say about each shelf. One of the things that he mentions is that the onions and whatever else that was smelled slightly of rot. And well, we do know that James somehow has a connection with rot. So maybe there's a slight connection there. Still, that doesn't exactly connect with Snow White unless you think about the poisoned apple. That means you guys have to watch the next episode, part 9B. Stay tuned. Tell me how James, if Eddie represents Little Mermaid and Angela represents Cinderella, then how does James represent Snow White? Let's figure this out, guys. Leave a comment. All right, so it's kind of cool, right? As far as the locations where you find them being significant, it tells you where they're found too. Eddie's music box was found in the garden fountain. That's like the first item that you get right after you kill Eddie. Angela's was found in room 202. That's the room where the freaking curtains were set on fire. You remember that? I showed it to you guys. And that's the room where we had to get the thinner to like erase the ink off of that picture so we could get the combination for the briefcase. Okay, guys, you may have discovered my error. I admit it. I claimed a falsehood just now. But though the charred curtains are not actually in room 202, as I suggested, they're actually in room 204. But if you recall, there's something extremely odd for this game. In fact, I mentioned it. I even pointed it out that this doesn't happen very often in this particular game. The original. There's a giant hole in the freaking wall, which in my opinion would kind of connect room 204 with room 202. The charred curtains were technically in room 204, but there's a giant hole in the wall that connects it with room 202, which is the room that I believe Angela was staying in. So if she had access to room 204 via a hole in the wall, there's something going on here, right? It's very peculiar. Well, we're going to touch on this in a little bit. The thinner that's like flammable, like paint thinner or whatever, that stuff is like really highly flammable. And it's in Angela's room. Okay, finally, Snow White found in the pantry. There's probably an answer behind this, guys. I'm not smart enough to figure it out. Like I said, if you are, then help me. Help me determine how this is connected with James and why it was in the pantry. Because let's face it, guys, the 3 rings in the apartments all represent the 3 characters, and they're found in specific locations. They all have their own specific meaning related to the characters. Same thing with the 3 tablets in the prison. It can't be any different here in the hotel with the 3 music boxes. Come on. There is like lore behind this, and I just don't know what it is. I'm not that smart. I'm sorry, I'm just not. At least I can admit that, and I'm not going to pretend like I am. But I'm telling you, it's got to be significant. The team that developed this game were geniuses, just creative geniuses. All right, so, oh God, I didn't mean to do that. Here's what happens if you don't set it up right. Yeah, it doesn't sound quite right. So on this side, we had Cinderella. So we're going to put the one that fled at midnight on this side. Then we had the one who awoke from death. That's got to be Snow White. And finally, the one who spoke no words. You know what, Eddie? A lot of times people that are bullied are are kind of introverted and they can't communicate. I mean, it's not that they don't have a personality or there's nothing going on with that person, but it all happens like on the inside. Like, I've always been like a shy, introverted person, okay? And I've always had difficulty communicating with people. You know, up until just recently, I'm getting better at becoming more sociable with people and opening up. But I've always been known as an introvert, and those are the kind of people that normally get targeted by bullies, because the bully knows that they can take advantage of that person and they don't know how to like reach out and stand up for themselves. So yeah, that's another one. The princess who spoke no words. I know it's for a different reason, like the Little Mermaid, Ariel, whatever, she gave up her voice to grow a pair of legs, right? But it still fits Eddie, because maybe Eddie didn't speak much until he got a gun in his hand, and then he started running his mouth and wouldn't stop, right? So just think about that. This is pretty interesting, isn't it? Let's see if we got it right. There's more music boxes. And a key. Does it say anything about these? No. It looks like there's a little plaque or something that he could read if he really wanted to. He just doesn't care. Fine, James. No, and he shouldn't read those because it doesn't pertain to anything else. It's not relevant, so what's the point? Okay. I do know where I'm going, I promise. We can go up to the 3rd floor because we just finally got the key for that gate. And guys, this is where everything's going to come together if you've never seen this. Finally. There's a freaking fire hose on the wall. Think about it, guys. Basic, not a basic game. I didn't mean to say that. I wasn't saying. Not a basic game. Very, very complex game built on a pretty basic system, the PS2. Limited resources. And they still go to the trouble to put this in the game. Did they do that for the effect of realism, or did they do that because they're trying to say something? Just keep that in mind before I totally change the subject, because it's time to move on. I'm going to do my usual thing up here before we go into room 312 and just cross out all the doors and make sure that we check everything off on the map, because it's like an OCD thing. I'm sorry. And sometimes you find stuff whenever you do that, like this painting. There's a painting hanging on the wall. It looks like a landscape of this area. You know what that makes me think of? It makes me think of the Burning Man painting that has the picture of the building on it that looks suspiciously like Lakeview Hotel. All right, but let's do this. Hope you're ready. We finally made it to the room, guys. Nothing interesting there, and we all know why we're in here, so I might as well just get on with it. Right, okay. Let's do it. There's a VCR here. It looks like I'll be able to use it.
Are you taping again? Come on. I don't know why, but I just love it here. It's so peaceful. You know what I heard? This whole area used to be a sacred place. I think I can see why. It's too bad we have to leave. Please promise you'll take me again, James.
Mary.
So there you are, James. Did you get the letter? Did you find Mary? If not, let's get going already, okay?
Laura. Mary's gone. She's dead.
Liar, that's a lie!
No, that's not true.
She died because she was sick?
No, I killed her.
You killer! Why'd you do it? I hate you! I want her back! Give her back to me! I knew it! You didn't care about her! I hate you, James! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! She was always waiting for you. Why? Why?
I'm sorry. The Mary you know isn't here. Laura, I'm sorry. That voice!
So much to say, guys. So much to say that it's almost overwhelming. Nice music, too. I'll just go ahead and say. Now, there's a lot of stuff that I want to point out. I'm going to start out, okay, since we're doing analysis stuff. This is one of the key things. This is one of the moments that I've been waiting on the whole game to try to talk to you guys about. But in order to do this, we're going to have to watch part of that cutscene over again, and I'm going to talk over it this time, so I'm going to point something out. Alright guys, so we're going to watch this one specific scene once again when Laura comes in, and I'm going to show you the Kubler-Ross model in Laura, and I'm going to show you that this is actually evidence. I think that the main thing this game is about, again, I've said so many times that most people see this game as being about guilt and punishment. And it is, but it's not like you would think it is. It's not Silent Hill that's trying to punish James. That's not what's going on. It is all about grief. It's all about grief. It's about guilt. But it's about guilt because guilt is kind of connected with the 5 stages of grief. And it kind of, the only word that I could think of is maybe just, it throttles the 5 stages, guilt. In the case of James, sure, absolutely it does. You know, that's another reason why the note in the hospital with Joseph and him feeling guilty for the death of his daughter is the game trying to show you how this guilt stuff works and what the town can do to manifest these feelings of guilt. But underneath that shallow surface, it's all about grief. It's a part of a bigger thing, and I'm about to show you what I mean. This is what happens when a child, maybe not every child, but this is the game telling you, and this is the developers, their way of telling you, well, you've been playing this game for the past 4 to 6 hours probably, maybe longer than that, maybe 12 hours, depending on how long you took or how you took your time or how closely you examined everything. You've been looking at James dealing with grief, so you see how an adult deals with it. That's in denial, which is part of it. This is how a child deals with grief. And it's the same thing, but it's different, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'll call it out. The 5 stages of grief in less than 1 minute. Let's check it out.
So there you are, James. Did you get the letter? Did you find Mary? If not, let's get going already, okay?
Laura. Mary's gone. She's dead.
Liar, that's a lie!
Denial.
No, that's not true.
She died because she was sick?
Bargaining.
No, I killed her.
You
Anger.
killed her! Why'd you do it? I hate you! I want her back! Give her back to me! I knew it! You didn't care about her! I hate you, James! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! She
Depression.
was always waiting for you. Why? Why?
I'm sorry. The Mary you know isn't here.
Acceptance. 5 stages of grief right there. Maybe it was a little longer than a minute, okay? But there you go. Guys, that's the same thing that James has been dealing with throughout the entire game. Just broken down for you in a matter of literally just a couple minutes. You know? So that's their way of showing you and telling you that explains it all. You know? All the denial, which that's exactly what happened after Laura walks out. And Mary's voice comes back over the radio. James, where are you? I need you. Help me. Find me. Denial. Just like when he found the radio at the beginning of the game and you can hear her voice on the radio then, right? That is the manifestation of denial. So James, literally right here, if what he experienced in the prison, the labyrinth, all of that wasn't enough for him to accept the truth about the grief, he just saw it. He just encountered it. It took all of this for him to actually see it. And what happened as soon as he even admitted it to Laura, the whole thing tried to start all over again on him. That's why Mary's voice is on the radio. See, whenever I was a teenager and I played this game, I was like hurt. I was like, man, this game, it just betrayed me. I was so hurt by it because I really thought that he was going to find Mary. And he never did, but I didn't understand the concept behind it back then. I didn't. And like I said, as I've grown up and gotten older, I really, really see it now. Like I appreciate it for what it is. You see, I was in denial with James the whole time I played the game. Like my first few times playing it, I was like, man, I want him to find Mary so bad. I just like James. I like fed into his denial. And that's what the game will do to you. It's brilliant. It's got to be one of the most brilliant works of art ever made. Definitely one of the best video games ever made. Ironically enough, there's a movie that came out right around the same time that Silent Hill 2 came out. It's got Jeff Daniels in it. It's called Chasing Sleep. I've never seen it before. It's very elusive. It's hard to catch it when it's streaming online. It doesn't become available on any streaming platforms very often. It does every now and then, but it seems to be a lot more popular like in Europe and other countries other than America. But it's got a very similar storyline, and there are a lot of similarities in that movie to the things that are in this game. For instance, like with the rot, the mold, the water damage, and all that stuff. Like the character Jeff Daniel plays in that movie, he's having delusions about his wife, you know, and he sees a lot of similar stuff in his house, and it's very relatable. It's ironic that they both came out at the same time. I can't really explain that. There's a lot of movies out there that are about the stages of grief. They might not come right out and say that, but you know, this game has never officially said that, but it's clear. It's like right there. Another movie that I watched recently that I can kind of sort of relate to the storyline of this game is The Others. You know, Nicole Kidman came out a long time, probably came out right around the time that this game came out too, actually. In that movie, if you know the storyline of that movie, they're grieving in the movie and they're in a lot of denial, and you see a lot of that anger come out. You see a lot of that depression and bargaining come out. It's all over that movie too. And finally, at the end of the movie, they accept that they're dead. I don't want to spoil the movie for you, but yeah, I mean, it's very similar to the storyline of this game. And so that's what makes this game so good, guys. It's the story. Without the story, without all the details that hold up, it's not the same. That's why I was saying in my short video that I made as like an introduction to the Silent Hill 2 project, that if you go changing this or that, any small fine little detail to a story like this that fits intricately together, you can change somebody's perspective on the whole thing and they just won't see it the same way. Did the remake do that? Well, we'll talk about it later, but I think I said everything that I wanted to say so far, other than just pointing out again how Laura is a child and how the way that she just handled grief and went through all 5 stages of it and walked out. Guys, something that I find extremely fascinating about the scene with Laura in the hotel room after James actually tells her the truth, and how she is just able to handle and manage that grief and just get over it so quickly. And she actually does. If you get the leave ending after finishing the game, you'll see that she actually is able to do that. And why is that? Again, maybe it is more related to the reason why she's not experiencing the things that James has experienced. Partially because she's a child, right? Well, I've heard it said before that that's what's so great and special about children, is that, you know, infants, babies, children, they come into this world whole, but it's the world that teaches children, humans, to become fragmented. And that's exactly what has happened to James, and that's why he just cannot accept the truth. The way that James has been fumbling and stumbling with this stuff, and just going back and forth, anger, denial, depression, bargaining. Maria, I think Maria is a form of bargaining. It's like James couldn't accept that Mary was dead, so the town used all of those needs, all those wants, all those desires to manifest Maria for him. That's why I don't believe that Maria is real, and I don't believe that Maria is Mary. I think it's a figment of his mind. It's a manifestation of his psyche that he subconsciously wished for. That's why you've got the DLC, it's not a DLC, but like the add-on from Silent Hill 2, the director's cut version of the game called Born from a Wish. He had like a subconscious wish to bring into existence. And every detail based off of his inner desires, his inner longings, his inner cravings. Okay, so we're going to talk more about everything we just witnessed in a little bit, but I want to land there for now and move on so I don't spend too much time in this room. One last thing I want to point out is the clock. There is a clock in this room, and it's not on 9, 10, and 15 seconds. Just like every clock in the remake, it's actually not on that time. There were some clocks in the game that were on 9, 10, and 15 seconds from the time that you set the one in the apartments to that time. They're hard to spot. It's not obvious at all. You have to really look. You have to really look. But they made this one obvious. I mean, it stands out. It stands out in the cutscene. And it's not on 9, 10, and 15 seconds. Do you guys know why? It's for a good reason. No, they didn't overlook that. They're proving the statement of the puzzle from the apartments. The scars from the past shall remove the nail that stops time. What did James just encounter? The scars from the past. Does that mean that the nail that stops time has finally been removed? Does that mean that time's going to start moving again? Well, it's really up to James now, isn't it? And that's why we have multiple endings. Is it just going to recur? Is it going to happen over again? Is that why the radio went off again with Mary's voice? Well, it's up to James. Really, it's up to you because you are James. You know what I'm saying? I actually forgot to mention this in the playthrough, so I'm going to add it right here. But before we leave this area, I want to point out again, just looking at the scene right here where it's frozen, check it out. Check out the chair, check out the TV. This should remind you of something. Now, I've already talked about the clock. Well, what was in the same room as the clock? The chair, the TV, the corpse, right? The corpse that was sitting in front of the TV with the snow, the static on it, and the blown out from the back of the skull brains, right? It's pretty demented, pretty disturbing, but yeah, that was actually foreshadowing to this particular moment when James realizes the truth. And so there's quite a bit of stuff like that in the game that I'm going to talk about whenever I do my retrospective video that pertain to the way that James makes decisions. And we'll get more on this toward the end of this video, but I just wanted to point that out and remind you guys again, remember the scene in the apartment with the chair, the TV, and the corpse. That is actually James, and the foreshadowing that I mentioned previously. All of that self-reflection at the beginning of the game, we'll get there. We'll get there. I'll talk about it later. But yeah, just a lot of stuff to mention and consider. Oh, what happened to the hotel here? We've got water dripping from the ceiling. We've also got what looks like smoke damage on the walls. What the hell? What's going on here? Is this the Nightmare Hotel? Must be. And listen to that music, guys. That music is like jawing. It's like, it feels like it's like drilling into your head, and it's painful. It's like you finally just got a glimpse of the truth, and it hurts so bad, you know. Kind of does a brilliant musical interpreted job of helping you feel what James must feel right now in this moment. It's like tormenting listening to that. It's so well captured, though, if you ask me. It's brilliant. So we're quickly being, what's the word? Funneled into this one place we can't go in. There's only one place we can go, and that's down. What's gonna happen next, guys? Oh, I remember this area. Be careful. You don't have to come in here and do this, but I'm doing this for the sake of completion, and it's really important that we watch this. But you don't have to do this, and depending on other things that other choices that you made, other things that you did during your gameplay, this can definitely influence your ending. Okay. Where the hell is the room at? That's not even the right door. Here we go. Hey, there's a cassette player here now. Audio.
Mary's going to die? You must be joking.
I'm very sorry.
But you're a doctor. It's your job to heal people. How can you just let her die?
Please, calm down. As her doctor, I promise I'll do what I can. But there's still no effective treatment for her condition.
How long does she have?
I'm afraid I'm not sure. 3 years at most. Perhaps 6 months. It's impossible to say with certainty.
Okay, guys, so now we kind of get an idea about how long James has gone through the agony of watching his wife suffer and die. 3 years. Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago. Well, she didn't really die, she just died to him because she changed after that. She was like a different person. She was dying. She was suffering. And as you can see, that was his reaction to it. Like his whole world just fell apart. You know? The main thing to point out right there, though, is that, you know, if Mary was diagnosed 3 years ago and she was that close to death, well, we piece it together that actually what Laura was saying earlier, she was in the hospital with Mary, right? Well, Mary just left the hospital one day. Okay? Laura didn't know where she was going. She was actually going home. So maybe Laura thought she was going home to get better, but she wasn't actually going home to get better. She may have been going home to die. Not by the hands of James and his pillow, but by the hands of the disease itself, you know. Maybe she was going home to, maybe she was really close to death. I mean, who knows? But she was suffering. And, you know, that's why Laura came to Silent Hill. I guess maybe Laura thought that when Mary left the hospital, this is where she would come. All very interesting stuff. By the way, your flashlight stops working after the cutscene in the hotel room. But we don't really need it, but we can't, like... We can still look at the map, but we've got an interesting hallway right here. Now these rooms, we can actually go back to room 202, and I think we can go into all of these rooms, but it's kind of interesting the way that the game does this. Does this mean anything? It might. Now I've actually I'm going to open the map here, and I've got a walkthrough that explains this because I'm not going to take the time to physically show you this in the game. But if you look at the map here, this hallway that we're standing in on the second floor, we're in the west wing of the second floor. Now we've got 4 rooms that aren't squiggled out. I'm going to try to explain how this is set up. This is really freaking weird, but this is actually something similar to this actually happens in Silent Hill 1. You kind of go through this bathroom door in Midwich Elementary School, and you come out and you actually like morph up to the second floor. Well, you got something similar going on right here. So if you look at the map, you've got these 4 rooms, like I said, room 207, room 204, room 202. So there's actually 3 of them on this side. All right, you've also got room 219 on the other side, so the east wing, room 220, room 212. Now you go into one of these doors in any of these rooms on this side of the hotel, and it morphs you to another room. This walkthrough right here, it says room 207 goes to room 204. Okay, and then it says that, like I said, room 204 goes to room 207. And that leaves you on this west side of the hallway. You can't, we just checked all the other doors in the centralized area. You can't get to that side of the hotel any other way. You've got 3 choices of doors to go through. Room 207, room 204, room 202. Room 207 and room 204 get you nowhere. You just go in circles. The only room, or the only door that you can go through is the door to room 202, which takes you over to the east wing of the hotel. Therefore, the only way to make progress in the game is going through room 202. Why is that important? Well, think about it, guys. Remember, Whose room is room 202? What did we find in room 202? In the normal version of the hotel, I'm sorry. We found the freaking Cinderella music box. We went in there, that's where we used the thinner to get into the briefcase. Who's connected with the Cinderella music box? Angela. Okay. This was Angela's room. She stayed in this room. If that's where her music box was, there's nothing to confirm that, but it makes sense, right? It makes sense. Don't worry, I've got other stuff to show you how it makes sense. It's coming. See, we went through room 202. That's the only room we could have went through to get to the east wing. And that was Angela's room. It doesn't even show you what's in there, but when you come out over here, look at how freaking fire damaged this is. It's like burned up. What's your clue to that? Where did that go? That takes you back over to 207. But, like I said, you try to go through 207 and you're going to end up coming out of 204. See what I'm saying about it morphing? So if that's Angela's room, and the first thing you see once you go into it is you come out over here and you see all this fire damage, what is that saying about Angela? She's connected with fire somehow? Well, that's kind of a broad statement. Is there anything else we can go by? Let's find out. Yeah, it's just charred in here. And this place caught on fire. It's interesting that there's not just all this soot and everything on the walls like there was a fire, but there's also water damage. That's interesting, right? Oh shit, this place is flooded. You know what it kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of Blue Creek Apartments. Remember Blue Creek Apartments in the original game? All the, there was like puddles of water all over the floors and the hallways, and that stairwell that you go to where you fight Pyramid Head, it's like flooded, and when he goes down the stairs, the water drains out. Why is James manifesting so much with water? All the rot in the hospital? Again, guys, it's because water holds memory. And memory is the thing that James is hiding from, or at least he was. He was. Now that he faced the truth, it's his choice to choose to accept and move on, or continue to grieve and deny it and seek other methods. Bargaining, a lot of bargaining, right? along with the anger and the depression. It's just a cycle. It's going to keep going unless he accepts the truth. Some pretty freaky music. Okay. And I'm finally gonna spill the beans.
I was looking for you. Now you're the only one left. Maybe then I can rest. Mama, why are you running away? You're not my mama. It's you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Angela, no.
Thank you for saving me. But I wish you hadn't. Even Mama said it. I deserved what happened.
No, Angela, that's wrong.
No, don't pity me. I'm not worth it. Or maybe you think you can save me. Will you love me? Take care of me? Heal all my pain? That's what I thought. James, give me back that knife.
No, I won't.
Saving it for yourself?
Me? No, I'd never kill myself. It's hot as hell in here.
You see it too. For me, it's always like this.
What the hell is that supposed to mean? Well, just like I said in the previous video when we had the boss fight with Eddie, I said I felt like the manifestations of James and Eddie were kind of colliding. That is exactly what's happening here at Lakeview Hotel. You've got water. You've also got fire. You've got fire damage. But why? Does Angela say you see it too? For me, it's always like this. She didn't like set her dad on fire, she stabbed him with a knife, right? That's what she did, right? Yeah. So why is she seeing fire? Well, I kind of tried to show you what the trail of evidence that the game gives you, because it doesn't really give you anything else other than this, and there's a reason why. It's because you're left to interpret Angela's story. And we have those three paintings again. We have the woman in flight, we have 436 people at a recital, and we have Burning Man. How are those other two? I've already talked about the woman in flight and how that represents Angela, but how do those other two represent Angela? Well, we'll start out with Burning Man, okay? Because if you can believe this, then you might actually believe the other one. Let me start out with this one. I'm not going to be able to get a good picture, a good view of this without burning. Well, maybe I will. Okay, some of the fire disappeared. What is Angela doing whenever we walk in here on her? And this stairwell, by the way, it doesn't really exist. I'm going to show you how it doesn't exist in just a minute. What is this on the wall? What does it look like? It kind of looks like the bottom of that abstract daddy boss, right? It kind of reminds you of the doormen that you fight. Now guys, keep in mind that the doormen were only in a specific section of the hotel, and that was the hallway where the room that I said Angela stayed in was. They weren't in any other areas. The only other kind of monster in the hotel that we encountered was the mannequins, right? I can't remember if there were lying figures or not, but there were mannequins. There was nothing else here. Okay, so those are clearly Angela's monsters. We're actually seeing it. As I said before, during that one cutscene where you have to fight Abstract Daddy, the boss, I asked, is that actually what Angela's seeing, or is Angela actually seeing her father? Well, that's what she's doing right here, okay? She's looking at and admiring her work. That's what she's doing. That there on the left, what she was looking at, that is her father. Okay? She was standing here admiring the work that she did on him. She stabbed him to death. And if you read the description of the murder scene and what it looks like, she went apeshit on him. Like she killed him dead, as they would say. And okay, that makes sense, right? Well, what about the other one? What about the other one? Why are there two? She didn't have two fathers, but she did have a brother. We did find a picture of her family that was torn in half. So who's the Burning Man? Think about it. Can't be her father. She didn't set her father on fire. But maybe she did burn down the freaking Lakeview Hotel. Maybe the Burning Man is her brother. Okay, newspaper time. What about the newspapers? What about the newspapers at the beginning of the game whenever you leave the cemetery and the first thing you come up on is that shelter with all the newspapers on the ground? And I clearly said this could be evidence, like a crime scene. Not necessarily that being the crime scene, but this could be evidence pointing toward a crime. What do you find in newspapers? Who is Angela looking for? Where is she looking them? Where is she looking for them at? A cemetery. Who's she looking for? Her family in a cemetery. Is her family dead? Probably. But does she even know that? No, she doesn't know that. She doesn't know if they're dead. That's why she's looking at all these newspapers. And we found them all over the ground in that one specific area right after we talked to her for the first time. We also find them all over the freaking apartments. Like all those rooms that you go in, there's like newspapers scattered around. Okay, then you find her in the apartment room in front of the mirror, self-reflecting, contemplating suicide. Okay, that's really literally what she's doing, and James calls her out on it, takes the knife. She's like, I don't know what I would do if I held on to it. Why is that? You think it's because she stood up for herself and she defended herself? You think the death of her father was self-defense? Yeah, I do. But was there more to it than that? Well, what if her brother also abused her? What if her mother abused her and neglected her, really more than anything, neglected her? What if her mother knew that she was being sexually molested by her father, her brother, for years and years and years, and her mother did nothing about it? Maybe her mother was in denial. And you know what? Maybe that's why her mother told her what she just told us. Mama said, this is what I deserved. That's what she said, right? So maybe this is all about revenge. Maybe this is like about desperate revenge. Revenge so desperate. What can you find in newspapers? Obituaries. What is somebody who is on the run gonna do? And first of all, why is she on the run? I've already asked this question, but now we get a better idea about why she's on the run, right? Maybe she set the freaking hotel on fire to kill her brother. Maybe her brother was here and she wanted to do it in a passive way. What if Angela is an arsonist? Well, she's seeing fire everywhere she goes. She said, it's always like this for me. Okay, so there's that, and there's also her character herself, the way that she acts, the way that she portrays things. You know, there's something that they say about children who grow up who have been sexually abused by adults. I've heard this before. I've heard more than one person say this, but those types of people, they honestly believe that every problem in the world is their fault. So they are constantly suffering with grief. They're not stable. And as you can see, as you see from that one scene in the apartments when James goes to take the knife from her and she reacts defensively and then she turns on herself. She's not stable, okay? And it's from years and years and years of abuse. And maybe one day, just like Eddie, she finally snapped. And she retaliated. And she was scared. So she wanted to get revenge, but she wanted to do it in a very passive way. So what if she killed her father as the woman in flight continued to run, set the hotel on fire to kill her brother? So who knows how many people died in this fire at the hotel, okay? Now you see how she's connected with the Burning Man painting, right? Well, what about the 436 people at a recital? What if it wasn't enough for her, the satisfaction that she got from stabbing her father to death, from burning her brother alive in a hotel fire? What if she had to get her mother too? What if she just couldn't rest? She says it in the cutscene in the apartment room. She's like, I'm so tired. Of what? Of running? Yeah. So basically you get these clues, these little hints, these clues everywhere throughout the game, and they're so subtle. It's beautiful though. It's amazing how they did this. And this is honestly what I believe. That after she set the hotel on fire, she went after her mother. She was so desperate to get revenge because she felt like if she killed all three of them, she would finally have some kind of peace and be able to rest after running for so long. So she's looking through newspapers, and she's setting shit on fire, trying to kill her family for revenge. And she doesn't care anybody else who dies or falls by the wayside because of her acts is just a casualty. It's what's it called? Collateral damage. She's not thinking about that. Okay? And she's so desperate to take her mother out. What if she set a recital on fire? What if she killed 436 people at a recital that her mother attended just to get to her mother? What if that's the case? I didn't come up with this. This is a theory that I heard somebody else say, okay? But it's so good that it must be the case. I mean, think about this scene. Think about everything they just said. Think about the clues that I've already mentioned. She's running around. She's setting shit on fire. She's constantly checking the newspapers to find the obituaries, to find the record of death for her family. Because she feels like if she could just take all three of them out, then she'll finally have peace and she'll finally be able to rest. If that's the case, that means that Angela is way bigger of a psychopath than Eddie or James combined. You know, if they have issues, she's got way bigger issues. And yes, she was led to that. Like she snapped, you know. So no wonder she came to Silent Hill. No wonder she's having delusions. Angela is the woman in flight, and that's how. And the game never truly answers that for you. It only leaves subtle hints, subtle clues, but I think it's brilliant. You know, you can think what you want. That's just my opinion. I have heard somebody else talk about this theory, but at first I was in too much denial to actually believe that theory or think that it could possibly be true. But the more I thought about it, the more it started to make sense. Like I said, her family, more than likely, they're all dead, right? They're all dead. But at this point, Angela is so delusional and so obsessed with finding her family, even though she already killed them, along with all these other people, right? But she's so obsessed with wanting to hunt and track them down and passively kill them that she's delusional enough to mistake James as being her mother. That's pretty crazy, isn't it? She says, "Mama," and like grabs him when he comes through the door. In some kind of rush from what she did, like each time that she successfully took one of her family members out, she felt like maybe she got a part of herself back or something in some sick delusional way. And so she became so obsessed with that feeling, that rush and satisfaction, even though it's just temporary, right? So it's not actually true satisfaction. But maybe she can't stop now. Maybe she's gonna go find something else to burn because she has convinced herself that her family might be there and she has an opportunity to take them out. So maybe she's like hooked, she's like addicted on the rush of lighting stuff on fire. Maybe her mother wasn't even at the recital, but because she was delusional enough to believe that she was. Let's face it, if she's delusional enough to mistake James as her mother, then she could mistake her mother at being at a recital that she might not have even been at. So you see how I'm kind of elaborating this, right? Where it's a possibility that, you know, she can't find the record of death for her brother or her mother, and so she's just hell-bent. She's going to continue to go around setting things on fire, trying to take them out until she finds that record of death. And that's crazy if you think about it. You know, I've heard so many people sympathize with Angela and say that they feel so sorry for her and that it's horrible what happened to her, and that's true. I mean, it's look what it could have potentially done to her, because again, this is just a theory, it's not confirmed, but it makes a lot of sense the more you think about it. Why else would she be the way that she is? And you know, the person that I heard talk about the theory originally, he was explaining that if you check out an FBI file on, you know, the type of person that an arsonist would be, like a criminal profile, Angela typically fits the description. She fits it very well. Like all of her qualities, her nature, and the way that she is kind of fits in with that arsonist profile. You know, the more I think about all these things, I'm thinking the more it makes sense that what I'm saying is actually the case about Angela. But again, you can think what you want to think. Now you're probably wondering or questioning, how on earth could Angela possibly have some kind of vendetta out for her mother? Her brother, yeah, I mean, if he was involved with abusing her just like her father, then sure, that seems realistic, and that seems like it fits. But her mother, surely her mother didn't abuse her in that way. And I don't think her mother did abuse her in that way, but as she says in this cutscene, her mother actually said that she deserved it. Now, going back to the tablets that we found in the prison, if you guys can recall where we found the tablet of the seductress, we actually found it in the showers. And so I think that has some kind of close connection to Angela's story. And the tablet itself is called the Tablet of the Seductress. So maybe somehow this is kind of how her story happened. Like maybe that's where it started, and I don't want to like get into details, but don't imagine, but just think, you know, maybe there was some kind of like encounter in her home involving a shower, you know, and like as sick as it is, like her father being enticed or something like that, and her mother knowing about it, realizing it, and not doing anything about it, probably more than anything else just because her mother was probably afraid to stand up for her to her father or her brother. But also, if her mother told her that she deserved it, then maybe her mother was jealous that she was getting like attention from her father or some crazy crap like that. But it doesn't seem like it's that far-fetched, does it? And imagine like not having anybody to defend you or not having anybody to help you in a situation like that, not even your own mother, and how much that could screw somebody up. I don't know if people actually talk about this stuff. It's a game, it's not a novel, but still, it could be a novel, it could be a really good movie, you know? It could be a really good remake. We'll talk about that more later. But yeah, guys, like, if what I'm saying, or something along the lines of what I'm saying actually happened, then no freaking wonder she's acting the way that she's acting when James tries to defend her. She's never had that. She's never had somebody to defend her. All she's had to do is defend herself, and all she knows how to do is fight. That's why she can't even receive any kind of affection or anybody, trying to care for her or support her. Think about all these scenes that we're watching in the game, and think about, like, this is why she acts the way that she acts. Think about it. That's the psychology of it. It really is. So, yeah, I mean, the best she can do, besides telling James that, she hates him and he makes her sick, the best she can do is mock him. Because in this stairwell scene, she's like, or maybe you think you can love me. Can you heal my pain? She, like, mocks him. And all he's doing is trying to show care for her, and she's never had that before. She doesn't know what that is. So she doesn't know how to handle it. Think about that. Like, I know it's crazy, guys, but it just, like, I don't know. I just sense all this stuff. Right? So that would explain why she would want to take her mother out as well. And again, the game never tells you any of this stuff, but I'm just kind of thinking about it, contemplating how all this could have come to be, and maybe that's, and I'm just going off of, the subtle hints and clues that the game gives you, like the puzzle pieces that relate to Angela, the prisoner coin. She was a prisoner in her own home. She was like a slave in that way, that gross kind of way in her own home. She was saw as being seductive by her own family members, and then on top of that, she was told that it was her fault and that she deserved it by her own mother. Okay, but this is the door that we actually should have come into. This is the stairwell. We've already been in this stairwell. So what the hell was that other stairwell? That was her manifestation. Come back out here, we're back in the basement hallway again. So we were actually supposed to come into this stairwell, but we didn't. We encountered Angela and her delusion. Pretty interesting, right? Look at this, there's more evidence of fire. That freaking door right there is like bowed out. Employee lounge. Could that be where the fire started? If that's where the fire started, then what was up with the singed curtains in room 202? Fire line. Do not cross. Can't really see anything inside there, but there is the employee lounge. Maybe that's why they made that one door stick out like that. It's because they're trying to tell you, hey, this is where the source of the fire started. Yeah, what if it started in that room? I don't actually know where that heater is, but I know what it is. Okay, guys, especially you people that are like me and you've been fans of Silent Hill 2 for quite some time and you know the game well, you probably know it better than I do, even. I know that you've heard about Johnny, one hot guy, the heater that James finds, and I wasn't able to find it in this playthrough. I don't remember where it is. I know it's somewhere near the source of where that fire broke out, where I show you the evidence of that. So I'm sure that a lot of people might hear the theory that I shared and be like, no, that couldn't possibly be true. You're trying to say that Angela took thinner, ink thinner, paint thinner, whatever it was, and tried to set the hotel on fire. I'm not trying to say that. I showed you where that actually happened. Like, I tried to show you the clues and the hints that the game gives you in room 202, where it shows where the curtains were singed, where somebody attempted to start a fire in that room, but then it went out. So, what if she tried to set the hotel on fire in that area, but she failed? It wouldn't make the Johnny, I'm one hot guy go against the theory that I shared with you at all. Initially, I've heard that Angela visited the hotel when her brother was there visiting the hotel, like as a guest, and that his room was next to the one that she got, and she was trying to, set a fire close to where he was in the next room over or something like that, and that's why there's a big hole in the wall. But what if that's not actually true? What if her brother was an employee at Lakeview Hotel? That's where the fire started. It was clearly in the employee section, right? And that's where the heater is in the employee section. Now, I showed you guys that dry erase board on the wall that shows that the last date for the schedule written on it was from a year ago. So maybe all this went down and all happened a year ago. Maybe she came in and attempted to set the fire in that room, but maybe for whatever reason the curtains just didn't burn. So maybe she somehow snuck into the employee section, kind of like James did. And if you look at the map, it actually shows where the fire started. It broke out in the employee lounge. What if her brother was in there taking a nap or something, and she went in there and she started the fire like that? Or maybe she used the heater or something like that. Maybe she used some kind of flammable liquid or something to help start the fire with the heater. I mean, I don't think that seems too far-fetched. What if the game is actually kind of, in a subtle way, I know this seems oxymoronic, but what if the game is subtly screaming these things at you as far as giving you subtle clues? I would even go as far as to say this. Have you guys ever noticed how when you come into the hotel, you have to go down to the basement floor and get on the employee elevator and get the thinner off of the employee elevator? Yet, whenever you actually do get the key, which is in Angela's room, in Angela's briefcase, woman on the run, she probably has some suitcases and stuff. Well, what do you find in her suitcase? You find the employee elevator key locked up in her suitcase in her room. So she somehow was able to get a hold of that thing, right? But when you do get to the employee elevator, you find that it's actually on the second floor. Though we distinctly saw it in the basement, we pulled the thinner off of it in the basement, right? But when you get that key, you go over to it on the second floor, and somehow the elevator has moved up to the second floor. Why did it do that? How did it do that? Did a monster get on the elevator and ride it up to the second floor? The employee elevator, nonetheless? No, who else is there at the hotel with you? We just saw her, right? Angela's there. She's there. Maybe she tried to take the elevator up from the basement, but she couldn't do it because, it says maximum weight allowance, one person. Maybe she had some thinner on her, and maybe she laid it down in the employee elevator on the first floor. Then we come along, we grab it, and maybe, you know, after we grabbed the thinner, just like we grabbed her knife, which is more evidence of a murder weapon, then maybe she gets on the elevator after we grab the thinner and we leave. She gets on the elevator, she takes it up to the second floor. I don't know. But it is kind of weird that the employee elevator is in the basement when we go to get the thinner, yet after we get the key for it, it's magically up on the second floor. Maybe that's related to Angela. Maybe she knows the hotel well. She's done her homework. That's where her brother worked. And actually, her brother is Johnny, one hot guy. Because I'm pretty sure that if your little sister sets you on fire for committing incest on her and getting away with it scot-free for years, you're still gonna be pretty damn hot, even in Silent Hill. Maybe that's what that's all about. We don't know her brother's name, but hey, would that make sense? Probably. But then comes the question, why the hell would she return to the scene of the crime? Because according to the schedule on the dry erase board, if she did burn the hotel down, then she had to have burned it down a year ago. Why would she put herself in that vulnerable situation of getting caught and, you know, coming back to the very place that she burned down? Well, if she's delusional, maybe she has repressed memories, and maybe she's just returning to the place that she committed the crime and committed the act of killing her brother to try to get some kind of recollection or remember that she actually did it. I mean, that's kind of what's happening to James, right? So why wouldn't it be happening to Angela? And now this leaves us with one final thought. One pondering, really. It really is a question. So if the game has left us all these clues that, like I said, they're subtly screaming at you, trying to tell you what's actually going on with Angela, who, by the way, is by far the most complex character in this game. I'm pretty sure that's why her face is on the cover, you know, the case of the original PlayStation 2 game. If the game went to all this trouble to create such an elaborate story about Angela, why does the game fail to draw any finer lines of a conclusion for her? Well, I've thought a lot about this too. The only two explanations that I can come up with, really, after thinking about it real long and hard, is that they either A, figured that it would be too much for a video game. You know, they had made Silent Hill 1, and if you guys know the background behind that game, they actually got censored by whatever the equivalent of the ESRB is in Europe. Europe censored their game and made them create these other kind of creatures to put in the school, because they said that the ones they had originally put in the school resembled children too much, so they had to censor their game and come up with new monsters to put in the school that didn't look so much like kids. Well, maybe they figured that this was taking it a step even further, and because it is such a just sick and twisted tale, if you really think about it, and all the stuff that I've laid out for you, that maybe they just figured it wasn't worth going to all the effort and all the trouble to really suggest Angela's background, her story, more than they did. But I think it's kind of cool that they left it the way that it was and they didn't elaborate on it anymore. I love the subtlety of it. That's what I mean when I say it's beautiful. I don't mean that any details of it are beautiful. No, it's sick and it's twisted But the way that they made it so subtle and they left it up to your interpretation is the beautiful thing about it. They were so elaborate with their subtlety. And when you piece everything together, it really does come together. It really does. And there's probably not a whole lot of people out there that have pieced it all together like that. I'm not trying to say that I'm special or that I've got some kind of gift to interpret Silent Hill 2. I don't. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I have shared with you guys, I didn't even come up with, but some of it I did pick up on, like this theory in particular, and I kind of just looked at the rest of the evidence and put the rest of it together. So yeah, part of this I came up with, but I didn't start it. I actually just picked up where somebody had already interpreted it. I picked up where they left off and put the rest of it together. It makes perfect sense to me. I see it so clearly now. It was always such a mystery to me until just recently. And I think that's awesome. I think that makes it worth it. It's fun. It's fun to try to unravel this mystery. And I think, you know, at this point, maybe I can actually have that thing that I was talking about when I started this project, when I said certitude. Just certainty on something where you have looked at everything, you've drawn your conclusions, and you feel like you've got some closure with it, where you feel like you finally understand. And man, has it been one hell of a journey. I'll say that. Yeah, the Mandarins in this game are so chilled out compared to the remake. Oh, hey. There's 9 of those save points. I've heard a lot of stuff about this. Represents the 9 circles of hell. This, that, and the other. It's got something to do with Japanese lore. I don't know. All I know is maybe it's just their way of telling you, hey, save your game right now.
I was weak. That's why I needed you. Needed someone to punish me for my sins. But that's all over now. I know the truth. Now it's time to end this.
Ow. So yeah, you actually finally get to encounter Pyramid Head right here. Well, both Pyramid Heads. Why are there 2 of them? Well, if you guys remember the depiction of the gallows in the prison, there were 2 of them in there. There are 2 of them on that. The executioners that little memorial stone from the beginning of the game that I pointed out, there's an S on the word execution. That means there were plural, more than one of them. But there's more to it than that, and I will talk about it if I don't die. They're so fast. Oh crap. Ooh. You know what's interesting is the thing on the rug. You guys see that? It looks a lot like the, it's actually got two names. From Silent Hill 1, the Seal of Metatron, which actually, it's got another name too. I can't remember what the other name for it is. The Mark of Samael, I think, maybe, is what it's called. Okay, let's not die. Wow. Oh god. And they do that. They do that to themselves. So is that what James meant when he's like, I finally understand, I don't need you anymore? Or I created you to punish myself, I don't need you anymore? Is that why they did that? So was James talking to Pyramid Head, or was he talking to Maria when he said that? Well, most people have thought that he's talking about Pyramid Head, and he could be, but what if he's, more than anything, what if he's talking about Maria? So maybe, if anything, he's starting to realize, you know, she was born from a wish. And I mean, I don't think he necessarily would have consciously admitted that he created the pyramid heads to punish himself. But maybe Maria, yeah, I mean, I could see that makes more sense to me than the pyramid head thing. Theory, or whatever you want to call it. But then you've also got, wherever the hell they are, it looks like he's holding something. A rust-colored egg. Won't move anymore. A scarlet egg. Rust-colored egg. It's about the size of a quail's egg. Pyramid Head was holding it. So we got a rust-colored one and a scarlet one. 2 eggs. What's up with the eggs? Well, if you guys remember the labyrinth, something kind of interesting that I realized, and I didn't realize that until this last time that I played the game, but you go down into Pyramid Head's lair and he's down there, but he's also in the other area of the labyrinth. So there could be 2 Pyramid Heads in the labyrinth. I think maybe that's actually the case. But, you know, a lot of people say that the reason why there are 2 Pyramid Heads is because James created one for killing Mary, or at least his mind. You know, the town manifested the guilt from killing Mary into one Pyramid Head and the guilt from killing Eddie into another one. And that's why there's 2 of them, because he actually killed 2 people. But what if one of them is pertaining to Mary and the other one is pertaining to Maria? That's why one is like rusty and old and one is like red. It's like scarlet. So you've got like what happens to blood? It kind of turns like a rusty color, right? So that could be like Mary, old death, and then Maria, fresh new death. You know, I've heard that theory before as well. But you need these to make progress. So you do have to use both of them. And I just love the sound it makes when you put it in the door. And well, I don't know for sure, but I mean, it would kind of make sense. I honestly, I don't know if this influences your ending or not, but maybe if you knew that one represented Maria and one represented Mary, whichever door you choose to walk through, what if that has some kind of influence on your ending? I don't know if it does or not. There's something else coming up that might influence your ending. This also seems to be another topic that people have talked about quite a bit, but this door right here looks like a face. So much to the point that it's creepy. It's definitely a pareidolia kind of thing going on there, but that definitely does look like a face. And something that I've heard is that it kind of looks like the indentation of, you know, like maybe saliva, tears, snot, imprinted on a pillow. And we all know how James took Mary out. He smothered her with a pillow. So what if that's Mary's face indentation on a pillow? And that's what that's supposed to represent. And it's creepy looking. I don't like looking at it for too long. It kind of gives me the creeps. I don't really know what the hell that is in there. I mean, we're in the room that's right underneath the lobby, so this would be the room where the stairs are. if we weren't in the nightmare. I don't know. Is that kind of looks like a lying figure laying on the ground? I'm not sure what that is, though. It's probably a dead monster. I mean, it would make sense. Like, he doesn't need the monsters anymore to punish himself. And maybe I threw some people off.
Mary?
What do you want, James?
I brought you some flowers.
Flowers? I don't want any damn flowers. Just go home already.
Mary, what are you saying?
Look, I'm disgusting. I don't deserve flowers. Between the disease and the drugs, I look like a monster. Well, what are you looking at? Get the hell out of here! Leave me alone already! I'm no use to anyone. I'll be dead soon anyway. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. It'd be easier if they'd just kill me. But I guess the hospital is making a nice profit off me. They want to keep me alive. Are you still here? I told you to go! Are you deaf? Don't come back! James! Wait! Please don't go! Stay with me! Don't leave me alone! I didn't mean what I said! Please, James! Tell me I'll be okay! Tell me I'm not going to die! Help me!
Yes, it will influence your ending if you choose to stay in this hallway and listen to that entire conversation. I think I'm still going to get the ending I'm trying to go for, though, so I think I'm good. But she says something kind of interesting in that. She says, between the disease and the drugs, I look like a monster. And then she proceeds to just lay in on him, just hammer on him with just like really hard, heavy words and just, hurtful things. She said some really hurtful things to him, which is actually a big part of what created a lot of the baggage to begin with. And by the way, I honestly believe that that's why James ended up killing her, is because she was miserable and she said she wanted to die. So obviously it was like a mercy killing that he did. And I'm sure I'm just repeating this for most hardcore Silent Hill 2 fans, but there is the whole thing that Masahiro Ito, the creator of all the monsters in this game, has stated, and that is specific things about each monster, particularly the ones that have mouths. Like if you notice, the mandarins, they have mouths on their hands, where their hand would be is actually a mouth. The Flesh Lips monster that you fight in the Nightmare Hospital, he has stated that the mouths represent the hurtful words that Mary spoke to James during the time that she was ill. And so all those hurtful things were kind of building up and creating baggage within James, and the town was like manifesting those feelings that he got from all of her hateful remarks to him into monsters that were physically hurting him in the town. So it's something kind of interesting to point out there. And then after he did it, he realized that, he didn't really have anything else to live for. So the final thing that I'll say, final two things, is that this kind of goes back to when we found the tablet of the oppressor in the prison. Now, because my light dark settings on my screen were a little messed up, it was kind of hard for you guys to see what the tablet of the oppressor looked like. We found that in the prison cell that you actually get locked into. Like, you have to try to open the door a few times before it finally unlocks and lets you out right after you pick it up. But if you look at the depiction on that tablet, it's got like a man standing over a woman, like strangling her. I asked you guys, how does this relate to James? Well, it kind of relates to James, but in a way that you wouldn't expect. Like, what if Mary was actually the oppressor? What if James was actually the one that took the abuse for a long time because she didn't have anybody else to take her frustration out on, so she took it out on James. And she just couldn't, like, this is what happens to people. It's all part of being human. Like my wife, she's a nurse. She works in hospices. She's surrounded by people that are dying a lot, like on a regular basis, and she talks about stuff like this. And she's like, this is how people, common, everyday people that are dying handle it. Like they just can't bear it. They can't handle it. And this is what they turn into. And they're angry with life. They're angry with everything. Can you really blame them? I mean, this is like hard, grieving things. They're heavy things, and they're real. And it's so powerful to be in a video game, And how many people can relate to a story like this? I guess that's the real question. So what if James was just the one that was oppressed by Mary? And what if over a period of time he grew to hate her because he just couldn't handle it anymore? He wasn't getting any of that end of her relationship as his wife. He needed all those things, but he couldn't get any of it because she couldn't give it to him. And being somebody that's been married for 12 years, I can absolutely say that, yeah, a marriage, it takes two people or it doesn't work. And so that's how I think it happened. It unfolded in that way. He still loved her. He loved her so much. He went to the ends of the earth to try to help her, and he just couldn't do it in the end. He couldn't do it. The last thing that he could possibly think of to help his wife was literally to do what he did. So it was a mercy killing. Absolutely. He didn't want her to die. But to him, she died 3 years ago when she got sick. And he was just putting her out of her misery, and she said that she wanted to die. And he grew to hate her. And it's almost like Angela told him, like, you didn't want her around anymore. And that's actually the truth. And when she said that to him, what did he do? He got angry because she touched that, she like poked that soft spot inside of him, and it triggered anger in him. Just like what he did with Eddie whenever Eddie was saying, the next time somebody makes fun of me, I'll kill him, just like that. And the very next thing he says to Eddie is, have you gone nuts? And he did that on purpose because part of him really wanted Eddie to kill him. That's what I believe. All right, guys, let's do this. Okay.
Mary?
Wrong again. Mary's dead. You killed her.
Maria? Maria, I'm done with you.
What do you mean? but I can be yours. I'll be here for you forever. And I'll never yell at you or make you feel bad. That's what you wanted.
Now I understand. The problem is, you're not married.
No, James. I won't let you. I'll never let you have your Mary back.
Okay. When in doubt, go to the map. She's got a long, so obviously the mobs are the long range attack. She's also got this melee. That. Yeah, it'll also like stab you. She kind of looks like a nun. I always thought she looked like a nun. Right? You guys see it? And the name of the boss actually is Mary, so... Yeah, it's literally like you gotta do it. It's like the final blow.
James.
You have to do it.
Mary?
James.
Forgive me.
I told you that I wanted to die, James. I wanted the pain to end.
That's why I did it, honey. I just couldn't watch you suffer. No. That's not the whole truth. You also said that you didn't want to die. The truth is, part of me hated you for taking away my life.
You killed me, and you're suffering for it. It's enough, James.
Mary?
James,
Oh shit, I got the in water ending, guys.
Now I understand the real reason I came to this town. I wonder, what was I afraid of? Without you, Mary, I've got nothing. Now we can be together.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did. Well, I'm alone there now, in our special place, waiting for you. Waiting for you to come to see me. But you never do. And so I wait, wrapped in my cocoon of pain and loneliness. I know I've done a terrible thing to you. Something you'll never forgive me for. I wish I could change that. But I can't. I feel so pathetic and ugly laying here, waiting for you. Every day I stare up at the cracks in the ceiling, and all I can think about is how unfair it all is. The doctor came today. He told me I could go home for a short stay. It's not that I'm getting better. It's just that this may be my last chance. I think you know what I mean. Even so, I'm glad to be coming home. I've missed you terribly. But I'm afraid, James. I'm afraid you don't really want me to come home. Whenever you come see me, I can tell how hard it is on you. I don't know if you hate me or pity me, or maybe I just disgust you. I'm sorry about that. When I first learned that I was going to die, I just didn't want to accept it. I was so angry all the time, and I struck out at everyone I loved most. Especially you, James. That's why I understand if you do hate me. But I want you to know this, James. I'll always love you. Even though our life together had to end like this, I still wouldn't trade it for the world. We had some wonderful years together. Well, this letter has gone on too long, so I'll say goodbye. I told the nurse to give this to you after I'm gone. That means that as you read this, I'm already dead. I can't tell you to remember me, but I can't bear for you to forget me. These last few years since I became ill, I am so sorry for what I did to you, did to us. You've given me so much, and I haven't been able to return a single thing. That's why I want you to live for yourself now. Do what's best for you, James. James, you made me happy.
Ugh. Okay. It's so sad, guys, especially because of the ending that I got. I was trying to get the leave ending and I got the in-water ending. I think it might be because I spent too much time indoors looking at notes. I think that's the only reason why I got it. That's hilarious. So I'm going to show you the leave ending instead. Even though I didn't get it, I'll show you. Apparently, there's different things that you do throughout the game that affect the ending that you get, right? And then there's also the bonus endings where you collect the bonus items to get those endings. You got to use them at specific times in specific ways to get it, but yeah, I kind of messed that up. But it's still, if you ask me, guys, if you want my opinion on it, before I'll let you go, I'll kind of explain to you that this is what I believe. I believe that the in-water ending is canon. I think that it is simply because of the way that the game starts. And, you know, a lot of people might argue with that, and I can argue with that myself and actually say that it could go either way. It's really up to you. The leave ending or the in-water ending, either two of those could be canon. Because it's up to you whether or not you decide that you want to heal as James and you want to go on with your life, or if you just can't bear the thought of living without your wife and you have to be with her. So it really just comes down to preference. And I like the leave, I prefer the leave ending, but the in-water ending I think fits a lot better with the story itself. Like some of the stuff that you face in this game, I don't think that very many people out there could face the stuff that James faced and still live after that. For instance, like jumping down into your own grave. But that brings the final question that I'll touch on. And that is, if Mary has only been dead for, no more than a week, how did James come to be in Silent? Like, what happened before the game started? What were the events right before the game? Now, another reason why I could argue that the in-water ending is canon is because her body's in the back seat. The new game, the remake, it kind of confirms that. So he wasn't planning on leaving Silent Hill. Once he arrived, he wasn't going to leave. But here's the thing. What I was going to say before I cut myself off because of the whole hallway monologue with Mary is that she had to have only been dead for, no more than a week. But probably less than that, maybe a few days. And so the way that I see it is that James killed her and then took her And it was, maybe it was like I don't think it was planned. I think it was like a spontaneous kind of thing where he thought about it, but he didn't know for sure if he was actually going to do it or what. But after he did it, he realized that he wouldn't be able to go on without her. He just couldn't do it. So he put her in the back seat. He came to Silent Hill. He was going to do what he did at the end of the game if you get the in-water ending. He was going to drive off into Toluca Lake in his car with her in the back seat. That was his original plan, but for some reason he stopped at the rest area, went in, and started self-reflecting. And that is when the delusional manifestation started. That's what threw him off. And that's when the memory started to become repressed. That's when he made up the whole thing about the letter, you know, getting the letter telling him to meet Mary in Silent Hill. That's where it all starts. So that's another reason why I believe that the in-water ending is canon, is because that's what he had planned on doing the whole time. It's just the manifestations from the town that slowed him down, or maybe tried to help him. Because keep in mind, guys, I mentioned before that a lot of people might think, and I even kind of misled my audience when I said this. I was like, is Silent Hill trying to punish James for what he did? Well, if you don't know any better, you might fall for that, but I don't buy that at all. I don't believe that. I think the town's neutral. That's why we can find a brochure, a tourist brochure, talking about how lovely and nice the place is. When we're not experiencing any of that at all, it's because it's all based off of perspective. Again. So, I think that maybe in some way or another, the whole point of the game is to try to unravel this and try to solve it. And the only good ending that you can get is the leave ending. That's it. But at the same time, it doesn't make sense, because in the leave ending, you're actually leaving with Laura, a real person, right? And if Mary's in your back seat, how do you think she's going to react to that? How are you going to explain that one? Okay, you explained that you killed her, but it's like that's going to scar this child for life if she finds out that Mary, her best friend from the hospital, is actually, her body's in the back seat, you know? So it's just, that really, if you think about it, that doesn't seem like it's any better of an ending than the in-water ending, as messed up and dark as that sounds. Okay, then there's the Maria ending, where you leave with Maria, but Maria's not even freaking real. And she's already dying before you even leave town. She's sick, remember? I'm not going to go to all the trouble and take all the time to show you all the endings. They're very easily searchable. But I will show you the leave ending, because it is my favorite ending. And it's the only ending that's even halfway good, if you consider it as a good ending. If you can overlook the fact that Mary's body is in the back seat and that's not going to like scar Laura for life, then yes, you actually do go to live on. Well, you guys, I'll just show it to you. Here it is right here.
Mary?
When will you ever stop making that mistake? Mary's dead. You killed her.
Maria? It's you. But I don't need you anymore.
What? You must be joking. But I can be yours. I'll be here for you forever. And I'll never yell at you or make you feel bad. That's what you wanted. I'm different than Mary. How can you throw me away?
I understand now. It's time to end this nightmare.
No! I won't let you. You deserve to die too, James!
James.
Mary?
James.
Forgive me.
I told you that I wanted to die, James. I wanted the pain to end.
That's why I did it, honey. I just couldn't watch you suffer. No, that's not true. You also said you didn't want to die. The truth is, I hated you. I wanted you out of the way. I wanted my life back.
James, if that were true, then why do you look so sad?
Mary?
James. Please. Please do something for me. Go on with your life.
Alright, so that's the leave ending. It's kind of similar right here. It's the same letter that she's reading to you. Failed to mention like how powerful the voice acting is even in reading this letter, and like you can't help but to get a little bit teary-eyed and emotional with it. But you're gonna see at the end of this, if you've never seen this, it's kind of hard to believe anybody watching this video has never seen this, but just in case, toward the end of this video you're gonna see something different, so we'll just keep an eye out for it. And while she's reading the letter, I'll go ahead and explain that if this is the only good ending, and it really could be canon, you know, it's according to most of the stuff in the story, it doesn't really fit as well as the in-water ending, because, well, in order to get through something like what James has just gone through, I believe that you absolutely would need a miracle. But she tells you, when she's laying on the bed, she says that she wants you to go on living. And when he tells her that he is so sorry for what he did, she says to him, "You're suffering, James, that's enough." And so this is really like the ultimate thing to do, like James, for him to go on living. And as you'll see at the end of this clip right here, when he leaves, Laura is like tailing behind him, so she's going with him, like I said before. And so somehow, if you can overlook the whole thing about Mary's body being in the back seat, or maybe if James could somehow explain that away and give Mary a proper burial, then yeah, I guess it would all work out in the end. But this is like the number one thing that James could possibly do for Mary. Like the last good thing that he could do for her is to take Laura and adopt her, which is what Mary said she wanted to do. And I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this, but Laura, obviously she must be an orphan, because why else would Mary offer to adopt her? And why else, you know, maybe that's something related to the story. Like maybe Laura wasn't sick. Maybe she was just like I don't know, part of some kind of orphanage or something that also took on terminally ill patients. I don't really know. It mentions something in the letter that Mary wrote to Laura about sisters, like nuns. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe Laura wasn't sick, but obviously she doesn't have parents, or they're no longer here. So one touchy thing that happens in the game is, when we're coming out of the apartments and Laura's sitting up on the wall and she starts talking smack to James. James is like, where are your manners? Didn't your parents teach you any better? And so that might have been one soft spot that James hit on Laura that probably made her dislike him even more. But the ultimate thing that James could possibly do at the end of the game to, I don't really want to say redeem his act of mercy killing his wife, but really just to fulfill one of her wishes, like I said, is to take Laura and raise her and be a father to her, since, James and Mary were never able to have children. So, and it says it right here that I want you to live for yourself now. Do what's best for you, James. And then that last line right there, the real tearjerker line, James, you made me happy. And we've got, if it hasn't already happened, maybe it's already happened, but you got them walking across the cemetery, James, and then, like I said, Laura tailing behind her. So yeah, that's a good ending, and it could fit if James can get past the baggage. There's Laura right there. And yeah, that's the leave ending, guys. Like I said, that's the best one. She's actually not tailing behind him, she's walking in front of him. So that's even more of a reassurance that, she's going to go with him. And ultimately they're going to live and, just honor Mary in that kind of way, which is really nice. I like that. It's like the ultimate deed that James could do to not only memorialize Mary, but just honor her last final wish for Laura. So yeah, that's a really good thing. I like that ending the most out of all of them. I'm not gonna lie, that's my favorite one. And you really do get to have closure, and you get to see, we don't get to see it, but you get to imagine how James can move on from this horrible situation that he found himself in. And yeah, I guess that's all I'll say about that. But I love this game. It's awesome. It's so good. And well, all right. And we will end the original playthrough here. I am going to do a retrospective video where I pick up on things that I overlooked and try to help connect the dots even better for you, and talk about some things that I didn't get a chance to talk about during the playthrough, and kind of reinforce the structure of the theories that I have and put it all together for you. In that way, it'll be scripted, so it'll be much easier to watch. Hopefully it won't be as boring as I was for the playthrough. Until then, I'll see you guys in the remake, where we'll finish the game out in the remake, and then we'll proceed to do a retrospect video for that one as well. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I appreciate you watching. And in fact, if you want to leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to my channel, I'd really appreciate it. And I will see you guys, if you do subscribe, I'll see you again next time. All right. Thanks for watching TME. Later.